Glamour.
Grit. Glamour.
Grit. Glamour. Grit.
I am so excited. The Texas Health Resources Foundation's putting on the Pink Fashion Luncheon is happening this Wednesday. It's such a fun and glamour get it, event to raise funds for the Texas Health Wellness for Life mobile health program, bringing important and life-saving screenings to the women of North Texas. We all know no one is immune from cancer, but early detection can make all the difference in the outcome. That's why it's super important to know if you're at risk. And Texas Health has made taking that step easier than ever with free and simple 5-minute health risk assessments for breast cancer, diabetes, stroke, heart attack, and more. Don't wait access to your risk. Go to texashealth.org/health assessments today. That's texashealth.org/health assessments today. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to the Glamour and the Grit. Guys, it is Monday. And Monday is my favorite day because why, E?
It's Celebrity Monday.
Celebrity Monday!
Hello.
Oh my God. And this guest, I feel like we're in the bunkhouse right now, minus we're in like a teeny tiny room in New York City.
We've taken the show on the road, folks. This is going to be a good one, though. As you can see, we've got Jefferson White in the house. Jeff, welcome, brother.
Hey, guys. What a pleasure. This is Celebrity Monday?
Celebrity Monday. So we do the show
And
Monday
so there's going to be a celebrity? A celebrity's coming in?
We're waiting for
I'm just excited to meet this, so that's very exciting. I can't wait to meet the celebrity.
Oh, my God.
I see there.
So those of you who don't know who Jeff White is and have been living under a rock for the last, I don't know, what is it, many, many years. Jeff's an actor from the Yellowstone universe. You could have seen him on How to Get Away with Murder, House of Cards. He's been playing Jimmy on Yellowstone for the last 5 seasons, right?
7 years, I think.
7 years.
Isn't that crazy?
And now you're doing Chicago PD.
I did some Chicago PD. Yeah, I did some Chicago PD.
To throw in the cowboy hat, got yourself do you wear a badge? Are you a...
No, I'm always a creep, man. It was a return to form as a creepy guy. Before Jimmy, I was on a real long string of
creep?
Terrible, creepy guys. And now I'm back to it.
Yeah, isn't that weird though? Eric was that too. He always played like a weirdo or a drug addict.
Creep. I'm going to give that to Jeff. I was drug addict.
Yeah, you were a drug addict.
I liked heroin and cocaine. There wasn't a show that I had ever been on where I didn't do some type of drug.
Yeah.
If you also included marijuana in there, for many, many years.
Yeah, there wasn't a show. I was my thing on shows was I had a gun and then someone shot me. I feel like I went through a long series of I got you dead to rights. I'm gonna do all sorts of evil stuff, and then somebody shoots me. There's a bang.
You never get it off.
I never get to shoot the gun. I've always got it, and I'm pointing it around.
You're so killer.
And then I'm getting shot.
No, that's Eric. My dad's always like, "When are you not gonna die on a show?" And I'm like, "Same. I would love him not to die on a show."
My favorite thing ever is when I book a job and I can call my mom and be like, "Mom, Grandma can watch this one," because she won't watch any of the sketchy shit. Like it's got to be sweet so she can tell all her friends at the country club, like, watch my grandson. So those are my favorite moments. And Ennis was one of those moments where I knew she'd get to enjoy that one.
Then he had to brutally die.
Yeah.
I know. Even when you're a sweet, even when we're sweet guys, we're getting brutally killed.
There's no escaping it, I guess. Yeah. I want to just jump right in because I truly don't know. And every day of my life, I'm getting asked the same questions as if Taylor calls me and tells me what's going on in the Yellowstone universe.
He's interested in our opinions.
Exactly. That's what everybody in the world assumes at this point.
He really wants to know what we think.
He calls me and he's like, Eric, how does this sound to you?
hey, Jeff.
Where are we right now with Yellowstone?
Back?
We're absolutely coming back. Yeah.
Is this the second part of season 5? Is this a season 6?
Yes, they would call it a season 5B. I think of it as season 6. It's going to be the exciting conclusion.
So the final wrap up.
Yeah, the final season of Yellowstone itself.
Okay.
But far from the final season of this universe, this sort of sprawling, epic, complicated universe. My understanding is it's far from the final season of this broader universe. But I think I believe, as per reported by various news outlets, it will be the final season of Yellowstone.
And Costner is doing it.
I unfortunately have no idea.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know about that.
That's the follow-up question that Taylor calls and makes sure he tells me.
Yeah, these are decisions and complicated things. It's, I think in this world, we share this. In this world, my character is a little ant that nobody tells anything, who just gets buffeted around by these much larger forces. And I am very much the same way. I will be delighted to go back to work if I'm so lucky. And if I'm not, they probably have a good reason. So these big decisions are made up at really high levels, and eventually they trickle down to us. And you know how it is. When we find out we get to have a job a little bit longer, we just thank our lucky stars.
So is there like a Yellowstone group text? Like with Kevin, Cole,
exactly,
Tay,
exactly, yeah. Kevin, Cole, Taylor, the boys, the boys.
They're probably big emoji guys too.
Exactly, yeah. We're all watching The Bachelor on Mondays.
Yes.
The group chat really pops off.
Wait, I do.
Love Is Blind season 6. We're all talking about it.
Oh man,
if Taylor
we're not.
Sheridan
Just to be clear, we're not.
No, if
I am, they're not. They have real responsibilities and real jobs, and they're very big, important people.
Amen.
But we're just going to use that other part when we advertise this episode.
Yeah, perfect. The sound bite.
No, I do wonder though if Sheridan was to use an emoji, if he was an emoji guy, what emoji would he use?
He would come up with the best one. All I know is it would be better than anything we can imagine.
A new one.
It would be an impressively severe,
Studios.
surprisingly violent emoji. It would be beautiful. It would encompass all the intricacies of the human
But doesn't
experience.
just the cowboy emoji encompass all of that?
That's exactly right. That's a good point. Yeah, the cowboy emoji says it all. It's universally applicable.
But I do have going back for a second.
Yeah.
So you're in between seasons or mid-season breakups. How does that work for you as the actor? I mean, are they being like, hey, odds are we're coming back, or yes, we're coming back. You have this amount of time to do whatever you want to do. Just guarantee us that you'll be available for these dates. Or how is that holding process? Because it seems to be sometimes longer than others. And how do you?
Yeah, I mean, it's like, I think that all of us on the show are extremely excited to go back to work. Generally speaking, obviously Yellowstone is all of our first priority, and the number one thing we all want to do is go work on Yellowstone because it's an incredible job. It's the best job any of us have ever had. It's a miracle. So the way it works for me, at least, is I audition for other stuff. I go do other jobs, but always in the back of my mind, I know when it's Yellowstone's turn, if I'm lucky enough that Yellowstone is going to use me, I am certain that I'll be available for that. And that's the sort of priority, that's the big ship. And then we're all sort of trying to pick up other jobs here and there. That because of various complicated scheduling reasons, Yellowstone occasionally gets pushed or moved. It has to shoot in the summer because in Montana, there's snow on the ground for 4 months a year.
Oh, that's a good point.
So if we miss a window, we kind of miss a year, So we didn't shoot last summer because of the SAG strike. And the timing of that, basically, I think the strike ended in October, November, late October, early November, if my memory serves. And at that point, it was too late to go and shoot a season of Yellowstone. So basically, that is to say, speaking for myself, whenever they tell me they need me, I am incredibly grateful to be ready and to try to put everything else aside and just be excited for it.
Experience the heritage of the West with the Rios family of brands, where every stitch tells a story of dedication, authenticity, and enduring quality. Since 1853, the Rios family of brands has upheld a legacy of exceptional bootmaking, where tradition meets innovation and quality is non-negotiable. Featuring some of the most well-known brands in the industry, from the timeless craftsmanship of Rios of Mercedes and the innovative designs of Anderson Bean, to the refined durability of Olathe and bold styles of Horsepower and Macy Bean. The Rios family of brands proudly offers a wide range of styles that are as resilient as the ones who wear them.
Yeah, but you kind of have those cool mental reminders of like, oh, it's winter. They're not going to be shooting in snow. So I have these months to try
I have
to
some
go.
time to try to get some other stuff done. You know, it's like it's a very exciting problem to have. As
And then
an
do you
actor.
have
It's a
to-
blessing.
Do you have to get like, say you book a really cool movie or
Yeah.
you book a fun reoccurring on a show, you get to have a little arc in between.
Yeah.
Do you have to then go to network to be like, hey, can I get approval for this? Or do they have to kind of
Yeah, we
sift?
ask them because they contractually I'm on contract with them. So we ask them when other things come up and they're super cool about it generally because they have more information than we have. So it's often very easy for them to say, oh yeah, we don't need you, Jefferson.
We're good.
Yeah.
Sorry, who? Jefferson White. Oh yeah, Jimmy. No, you're good.
You're good.
Go have fun. I was worried we were all gonna wear denim shirts. This is anytime you do Yellowstone related events, it's like, all right, who's gonna wear denim? We can't all do it.
It's
No.
true.
We gotta pick.
I figure the Marlboro shirt would
We
be
have to
enough.
trade off.
Oh, and
Yeah.
I giggle each like season or like more than y'all are in it. Y'all get more Western. Like
Oh,
Eric
yeah.
talks in a full Southern accent
Oh,
now.
Yeah, it's
Dude.
inescapable.
You should see me in my element in Fort Worth,
Oh, I
walking around
believe
those
it. You would die.
streets, that
I
hat
believe
on,
it.
those
Yes.
boots dirty, like
Yes.
just.
But the same thing happens in New York. I come to New York and like, you know, after a few months here, we're like smoking cigarettes and eating bagels and fuck, hey, come on, what are you fucking doing?
Yeah.
And then you have to go back there and I'm Jimmy and I'm like, hey, get the fucking cows over
Come
here.
on now.
What are you fucking doing? Move the cows.
No, it's so true. Being here, I forgot like the groove of how fast things are. Because in
Yeah.
Texas, like even in Starbucks, you're like, no, you go ahead.
Yeah.
No, you go ahead.
Yeah.
And here they're like, move over.
Well, I almost got
Oh.
I was at Juice
No.
Generation getting a juice, and I'm on the phone with my brother, and he's like, dude, you've been living in Texas too long. I can hear you talking to him. You're way too nice right now.
Oh.
I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, you got to say like, gimme the smoothie with the, or like, let me have the smoothie with the, instead
Yeah,
of like,
yeah.
hey, can I please, I'm doing this whole thing.
If it's not too much to ask, might I trouble you for a smoothie?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then I order it and I go and they call numbers and I thought my number was 34, but apparently it was 35. I went to grab 34s and she came in here
Yeah.
and ripped me a new
Bitch
one.
was mad.
And-
Not at the juice generation.
Yeah,
That's
I'm
supposed to
like,
be a tranquil space.
We all just hit the gym. It's 7 a.m. We're getting
Yeah.
our juices. Like, come on.
Yeah.
I was going to grab it and give it to you.
a little
Like,
morning mindfulness.
It was a wake-up call.
Oh,
I know. We're
I
back
forgot.
home.
I got to thicken my skin
exactly
again.
right.
No,
I
I
don't know.
do-
Texas, it's like there's this, for me, there's the stereotype that New Yorkers are like tough. I find Texas is a little confrontational. In New York, everybody's mostly just minding their own business. In Texas, for me, this is because I'm a wimp. It's not a sort of referendum on the state of Texas. I find Texans to be quite intense.
Give me an example.
Cut somebody off in traffic in Texas.
Oh, yeah, then
Well,
you
you
get
better
like a
keep up
bam,
on the
bam.
highway.
You know,
That
in
is
New
the
York,
thing.
Yeah.
it's like you just expect it. Everybody's
Yeah.
kind of, you're very used to making, you're like on the subway, you're literally bumping into people. You're very used to sharing space. In Texas, it feels like there's a bit of everybody's got a personal bubble that's a little bigger. And then when you are necessary, when you bump into somebody or when there's a moment in Texas, I find it much more intense. In New York, someone yells at you and then you both go your separate ways. In Texas,
Like, let's roll.
I know,
brother.
in Texas, it's a little, you know what I mean?
Wait, actually, that's so interesting because I think even too, like,
I
with the-
love Texas, to be clear. I
love
We
Texas.
take
really
our
do love
highways
Texas.
seriously, especially
Yeah, yeah,
though.
yeah.
The highways in Texas are
That's its own
Well,
breed.
it's because we're
Yeah.
going 80 miles an hour.
Yeah, the
in,
signs.
in the biggest cars
Yes.
Yes.
ever made.
And you're going down highways that list on when you're flying down the road 85 miles per hour on the signs.
Yeah.
So it's like, we're cruising 85 to 100. If you're not keeping up, you're
And
Gotta
the
go.
vehicles are large.
very.
Oh.
My wife owns a car. It's a 2008 Volkswagen Rabbit. It's a
What in the-
tiny little
I was gonna say, it's
two-door
gotta be
car.
little.
It's the world's smallest car. And driving it in New York, it's great. You can parallel park anywhere.
Oh, it's a dream.
In
It's like
Texas,
a smart car.
You're driving these fucking behemoths.
Oh,
It's really.
I
My
had
first
to, I had
car
to
was
transfer. I'm now in a behemoth truck.
Yes.
I had to do it.
He's in a huge truck.
yeah, because you're on those
I'm
highways.
like, if you can't beat
it's
them,
an
join
arms
us.
race. Exactly.
Yeah,
It's an
no.
arms race. You don't want to be in a cute little car.
No.
no, my first car was a Hummer.
Exactly.
Swear to
Yeah.
God,
Yeah.
at 16.
Yeah.
No, but I think it's so interesting because I think people take like Texas girls, they think we're these like wimpy, like housewives back in the day. And I think until Beth Dutton, now they're scared to death of us because every Texas girl I know could beat your ass. And a lot,
I'm
like all
scared
of
to
my
death,
friends
yeah.
are the breadwinners.
Yeah.
Like it's
Yeah.
so wild.
Oh, sweet.
And I always say, like, my dad raised me to be a badass. He was like, you go, sister. You don't need to have kids yet. Go, go live a life. Be a CEO. And I think that's like, people don't understand that about Texas women. I think because of Yellowstone, they do. They're much more like Beth Duttons. Because it was interesting. Our brother-in-law just moved to Texas, Eric's brother. And I was like, yeah, I think people have a misconception about Texas women. And he was like, oh, they don't now. He's like, everyone in Florida thinks y'all are Beth Duttons. And I was like, actually,
But they are.
They are.
Every one of her friends owns their own business.
This is why I'm terrified in Texas, right? Exactly. You know what I mean? Like, it's a very,
Yeah.
Everybody's much tougher than me. I live in New York, and Texans are fucking tough.
They really are. And I think because we look so nice too, and we're so done up, I always feel like I look like, you can tell I'm not from here.
Presentable.
Yes. Like literally, it was the first time coming here this time, and I was like, oh my God, you can tell I am a tourist. Like, I am not from here. I think because a lot of time we wear color. Like, this is the first time in black in years.
This is a New York uniform. I was going to say, you look great.
We brought our costumes.
Switched
Yeah, we brought costumes.
Yeah, you look very Bushwick, the leather jacket, the jeans.
Even Bushwick is even more.
Yeah, the
high
faded
tops,
jeans.
baby.
Yeah, this is very cool. You
Let's
look very
go.
cool.
Oh, thanks, Doll.
Dude, I've got to, not to change gears, but I saw online that, are you directing now? Are you directing
I'm
something?
making a movie with my friends, yeah.
Dude.
Yeah, me and my friends are making a feature. It's called Caravan. It's a really interesting, it's a very, very small movie.
If you have not already made plans to go to the National Cowgirl Museum and Hall of Fame in Fort Worth, Texas, to see their newest exhibition, an Escaramuza Chara, the women who ride side saddle executing intricate patterns at a gallop, you still have time. Well, that's a mouthful, but it's worth it. The exhibition runs through December, and they even have a podcast, Conversations at the Cowgirl, which will give you some insight into the sport and its origins, and even a little behind the scenes on how the exhibition is curated. Conversations at the Cowgirl, a National Cowgirl Museum podcast that is available wherever you stream your favorite shows. Follow us on social at Cowgirl Museum for updates, or visit our website at cowgirl.net.
I'm so excited for you.
Thank you very much. It's it's interesting. It's like it's so small that it's like borderline an experiment. And I'm hedging my bets anytime I talk about it, just in case it turns out really bad. It might be great, or it might be bad. You never know. This is, I don't know if you guys experience this. Like, I'm such a autodidact. Like, the only way I could learn how to act is like, you have to confront the fear. You have to get up on stage. Anything new, like trying anything new, riding a horse, you have to get on the horse.
Yeah.
You're not, but you have to accept that the first time you get on the horse, you're not an expert. You have to accept that the first time you swing a lasso, you're gonna look dumb. Nobody picks up a rope and looks cool swinging it the first time.
No.
And this is my experience with directing, with so much about filmmaking, is like, you have to accept that your first efforts are going to be a little fumbling and silly. So I've been directing comedy sketches and very short, small things for years and years, kind of stumbling and failing. You make 300 comedy sketches and like 10 of them are funny. And this is a first effort towards like, hey, what if we made a movie? What if me and a bunch of my friends who've been making stuff together for a long time, none of us are seasoned professionals, none of us are experts. What if we just shared our effort and tried to make a movie together? So it's pretty cool. Can I tell you about it really quickly?
I was
just
going
gonna
to please,
say, I need
because
to know.
Briefly.
knowing you and knowing how creative you are, and even your eye and the lens, you're such an amazing photographer. Like, you
thanks,
get it.
man.
You get that whole world. So I'd imagine a Jeff White production is got to be artistically done and creatively thought through. Like,
That's
please,
so kind of you.
walk me through it, because I'm so excited
I'll tell you about
this.
my homies that I'm making it with, because it is like, you guys doing this podcast together is like, hey, we're creative people. We have these careers. We have our own creative careers. Let's do this podcast together so that we can spend time together in collaboration, spend time in community. We're going to meet with our friends, hang out with our friends. How can we organize our lives around like being together in a space that we care about with people that we love? And so from this, making this movie is a version of this same impulse for me. So it's me and my friends. My buddy Adam Volerich is the DP. He's a brilliant director himself and a very, very good DP. He has a podcast called Eye of the Duck. It's a film podcast that's very cool. My friend Sharina Martin is one of the leads of the film, and she's helping me produce it. Kat Madsen, Doug Harris. It's a movie. It's about insulin access in the United States. So insulin that all diabetics need to live. If you have type 1 diabetes, which they call juvenile diabetes, it means it's diabetes that you're born with.
Yep.
You haven't done anything wrong. This happens, is everybody in their lives knows somebody who gets cancer for no reason, who gets some like this happens to all of us. These things touch all of our lives for no reason. And I'm really passionate about access to healthcare. I think it's weird that some people have bad luck and unfairly get a debilitating disease or illness and have to pay hundreds of thousands of dollars over the course of their life. And if they can't, what do you're fucked. You're just fucked. That's in this country, God bless us, we try so hard. If you get cancer, do you know how fucking expensive that is? If you don't have health insurance and you have type 1 diabetes, you need insulin to live. And a vial of insulin
like multiple times a day, right?
Yeah. It's a constant thing for you. It's a medical necessity to live. And a vial of insulin costs $350 in the United States, and it costs about $30 in Canada.
Wow.
So there's a practice in the diabetic community of crossing the border to buy insulin and come back. So this is a movie. This is something I learned about years ago. This is a movie. It's a rom-com that takes place on a carpool caravan from New York to Toronto and back. So our main guy, he's a diabetic. My friend Doug Harris, who is diabetic, who helped me write the story. A lot of this comes from his personal experience. He has to get to Toronto to get his insulin because he doesn't have health insurance, and his only ride is his recent ex-fiance, who he just split up with because she had an affair.
Oh my God.
So he's stuck in the car with his ex-fiance for this trip to Toronto and back. It's this kind of eclectic group of other diabetics and people they run into along the way. So we think of it's like Little Miss Sunshine meets The Big Sick is kind of our pitch for it. It's like a road movie about these people who are thrust into this very unfair circumstance. But you know how it is. You also just make the most of it in the face of this.
Yeah.
The face of this systemic cruelty and depravity. You just kind of have to laugh, So like it's kind of a goofy comedy about this group of diabetics that go from New York to Toronto to get insulin.
Have you already started filming?
Yeah,
You've shot it.
So it's a road movie, right? So
there's a lot of like over the shoulders, back seat kind of.
Yeah. So
how are you?
There's interesting. I set out to write. I've written a lot of stuff. I've written for years and years. I'm always writing shit that I can't make. I'm always writing shit that's kind of high concept. And it's like, well, fuck, now what do? Wait for somebody to tell me I can make this in 15 years? So I wrote this movie to make it. I was like, what can you make? Road movies are relatively cheap. The idea is a lot of these locations are gas stations, rest areas, parking lots, relatively cheap, right? And the great thing about a road movie is you never return to the same location twice. So we're shooting it almost like a series of shorts. We go and shoot for 2 or 3 days. We edit that while we start pre-production for the next shoot. We come back and do 2 or 3 more days. Because it's just we don't have a ton of money. We can't afford to pay our incredible collaborators to buy out their schedule. So the idea is, okay, we're going to do these shoot days. If you're available, thank you so much. If you're not, we're so glad you're booked. Like, we're so glad you're making money doing something else. So we've been just picking up days here and there. So we've shot about 60 pages so far.
Nice.
We've got about 60 minutes of movie, and we've got about 40 pages or 40 minutes of movie left to go. So our next shoot is this coming weekend.
Oh my God.
Incredible.
So how do you do that with weather too? Like what you're saying, like even the Yellowstone, like how does it work with
He's
weather?
available, but today is pouring rain.
Well, this is one of these very funny. Yeah, every production, no matter how, even if it's a $200 million movie, if you're Killers of the Flower Moon, rain will still fuck your production up.
Yeah.
Like, we're supposed to shoot outside today and we can't. So there's no amount of money that can insulate you from that problem. So if it rains, you just get fucked.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Now, how are you feeling going from like the actor side to the director side? Do you feel like you can like be one with the actor because you have been on the other side of the camera?
And are you in it at all?
I wrote myself a tiny little part.
Okay,
just barely. Barely.
Got the cameo.
I know.
You
My
have
friend
to.
Sharina told me I had to.
Yeah.
So I wrote a little. Thanks, Sharina. Now I have a little tiny cameo. It's an interesting thing. I think I assumed because I'm an actor and I've been acting in film and television for 10 or 11 years. I was like, it's going to be easy for me to talk with these actors.
Totally.
But I think sometimes it's the opposite. Sometimes it's like, oh, I feel in my body how to solve this problem. I can feel in my body what I would do, what I need this actor to do, but communicating it, articulating it, in such a way that that person understands it and metabolizes it into what needs to happen. Like the skill of directing it, I have tremendous admiration for it, and I always have, but especially now, is you have to talk to a bunch of different people, all of whom speak different creative languages. Everybody on your set has a different personal process, the actors, but then also you're talking to technicians, you're talking to makeup artists, to the DP, to your camera operators. Everybody speaks a different language, and the director has to kind of speak all of those languages. So that's what I find. Instead of saying impossible, I would say that's an exciting creative challenge.
Big time. No, I always feel like it's like real estate. Everyone would tell me, they'd be like, you should do real estate. And I'm like, yeah, I can do the sales part, but I'm not going to do the contracts and like the logistics over the phone. And like, that's how directing is. It's like, it seems so easy. It's like, you're just directing actors. Oh, no, baby doll. That's like, I always think that's the fun part.
Yeah,
you have the pre-production. You have to talk to investors. I mean,
yes, you're an administrator as well.
Yes, I feel like you're the principal of this whole production. And I think people forget that part. I feel like being on the set is probably like booking the job. That's the reward. Everything else around it is the hard stuff. That's the stuff you're mainly doing.
Yeah, and then the being on the set is the same as being an actor, which is like, you know, wow, we love this. We've done this our whole lives. This is our favorite thing to do in the world. And we don't get to do it that many days a year. So there's also this like, this precious feeling of scarcity. Every hour you're on set as an actor, you're like, I want to make the most of this. Like, what a tremendous, rare miracle it is to be here. Being a director is also very much like that. The number of days you get to be on set as a director in your life, who knows?
Yeah.
Not that many.
Discover a curated selection of renowned brands that embody luxury and craftsmanship, including Lucchese, Stetson, Double D, Stallion, and Blackjack, alongside captivating new arrivals and unique brands waiting to be explored. Elevate your wardrobe, elevate your lifestyle. Experience the epitome of luxury at Pinto Ranch. Mention this ad in stores or use code Eric Sainty, that's ERICSAINTY, at pintoranch.com to receive 20% off your purchase.
But you're loving it.
I'm loving it. It's a real, like, it is absolutely 1000% accomplishing its primary goal, which is to like learn. You know, it's to get punched in the face. There's the famous Mike Tyson quote, everybody has a plan until they get punched in the face. And I've been boxing a lot lately. And just using that as a really constructive metaphor for everything is like, you have to be willing to get punched in the face. Like, you have to be willing. Like, the big thing with boxing is like, you have to get punched in the face and breathe and say, that's okay, and continue. Because if you get punched in the face and you panic and you hold your breath and you get tense, you're in real trouble.
Totally.
You know, and it's the same with directing. Like, I'm getting punched in the face every day. There's always some unique, interesting new challenge. There's some reason that the day is fucked up from the moment you start. And you're just sort of learning to keep breathing. It's like being an actor, you know, if you get scared, if you get nervous, that is directly antithetical to the kind of work you need to do. You know, like it's working directly at odds.
And I feel like it'd be so hard, like at the end of the day when you're watching all, like, so you'll film all day and a lot of the, what do they call them? Your dailies. Dailies, watch the dailies. It'd be so hard for me to be like, oh, we should have tried that. And then it's too late.
It's heartbreaking, yeah.
I'm like, that has to be so, especially as like, not a new director, but a director wherein it's like, it's not your day to day, where it's like.
I mean, he is. This is his
very much
debut.
new, very much new, yeah.
No, but that would be so hard for me, especially being like, if you're a seasoned director, you know what people expect from you. So you're like, that's my twist on things. That's the specialty that I do. As a new director, it's like, do you catch yourself being like, what is going to be like my specialty? What is going to be the thing that people know? Like, oh, that's the Jefferson White. That's the Jeff White.
Yeah. Are there directors that inspired you and kind of your creativity on this film and
absolutely
kind of emulating somebody?
I've been watching a lot of movies, a lot of old movies, because it really feels like these questions. There's also always this constant tension between process and product, right? Like, we all want the product to be good. We all care about making a good product, but so much of this, like making a podcast, right, is you're like, we're going to do this. We have a vision of what this could be in our heads. The reality is going to be different than that. And you have to allow the vision to change and grow and shift in its actualization, right? So every day is like, you go in imagining one version of it. That's not going to happen.
Yeah.
You're going to watch what you shot and it is not going to be what you imagined. So you have to like, sure, grieve that, allow that to go, allow that to pass. Oh, we missed this and this and this. It's not that. It's some other thing. It's some new thing that you're discovering on the day, you know? So my favorite filmmakers, I think, and my favorite actors, like, have a sort of technical precision that also allows for chaos and discovery, you know? Like, you build this technical machine, you have this plan, right? Like, we're going to set these mics here, we're in this room. That's amazing. You've done the technical work, but then you leave the room for discovery. You know, you leave the room for chaos into the process, right? Yeah, so my favorite actors are like incredible technicians who also they feel alive at all times, and it feels there's an element of chaos and unpredictability to their work. And my favorite filmmaking has that quality as well. You know, it's very surprising. So this film, I really love like the early Wes Andersons. I really love Bottle Rocket.
Yeah.
Bottle Rocket is like a tonal frame of reference that I like a lot. I love, you know, it's a comedy about sort of heavy shit. So I like this kind of off-kilter tone. I've been thinking a lot about the movie Napoleon Dynamite.
Oh, cool.
Which is just like a sort of, because you're looking for this strange juxtaposition, right? You're looking for the contradictions. And I feel like the contradictions are what's funny. You know, like shit that comes out of the blue and surprises you is often what's funny. And it's often what's scary. I think it's what makes a good scary movie effective is it surprises you. I think what makes a good comedy effective is it surprises you. So my favorite movies are sort of surprising and unpredictable. And that's what we're hoping to accomplish here. That said, maybe we won't.
We'll find out. No, but it's so
regardless, we're going to watch and be excited for it.
Thank you.
But it's so true, though, because I remember when I got the call that I had a melanoma, we didn't know what stage it was at first.
Yes.
And it's like, well, fuck, this could be stage 4. And I remember I got the phone call. I was here in New York, and my mom and sister-in-law.
Yeah, and can you imagine that for a second? Like the doctor calls and is like, hey, you've got cancer, but we're going to have to wait a couple of days before you find out how bad this is.
And I mean, I have a 2 and 4-year-old, and I'm like, oh my God.
Don't call until you know.
Yeah,
I know.
Don't give us the pre-call.
That's really terrifying.
Oh, it was wild. And so my mom and sister-in-law are headed to JFK, and I call them. Of course, we did a whole girls' weekend, and I get the phone call as they have left. And I was staying an extra day. And so I called them. My mom was like, get in the cab. We'll meet you at JFK. So we both get to JFK, and they have my ticket waiting for me. And of course, you know, JFK, the long line. And we were like, fuck, we're going to miss. They got me in at 7 a.m. the next day at the cancer doctor. Yeah. And I remember being like, I looked to my mom, and my mom is a wreck. And I was like, do you want me to pull the C card? And she's like, that is not funny. And I'm like, but it was so in my mind. I'm like, there's only way, like, if this is it, that's the only way I could laugh at it. And like, there was no other. And my dad, and he did not mean this, he was like, I'm so glad it happened to you and nobody else in our family, because my mindset, it's like, if you don't laugh, you'll cry.
Yeah.
And I was so that type. I was like, well, shit.
Yeah.
Here we go. And I was like, God, I have big features. If I lose my hair, that's a lot of face. And like, just all these things that kept going on in my mind. And I mean, I love you, but I was like, God, Eric's going to have to do this on his own. And like, he's not ready for that.
You would have done great. You would have done great.
My hair turned orange just thinking about it.
I'm like, but it's so true though, because if you don't laugh at it, it's so much of, it's all, everybody experiences some sense of tragedy. And like what you said, a life-changing thing, we have to laugh at ourselves because you'll cry.
Yeah. And there's it's a constant fun balancing act in tension, because other people's pain isn't yours to laugh at, but your own pain,
completely.
Like ownership of your own pain, it's yours.
You have to.
It's yours to sort of do with what you will, you know?
Totally.
And in advocacy work, it's like, it's your right to joke about your cancer.
Oh,
I would never, like it's obviously people outside. I'm sure your family experiences the same way. It's like, sure, she can joke about it.
Oh, my mom was like,
you fucking joke about her, I'll knock you out. You know what I mean? Like if anybody else wants to make that joke, it's a community's, and it's also like as a community. So in cancer communities, right? I'm sure there are networks of mutual support. amongst cancer patients, other people who have experienced what you've experienced. In those moments when you get news like that is like impossible to even conceive of, there are other people that have experienced that same thing, and that becomes a sort of strength, the strength in that solidarity. Yeah, it's this club, right?
Even like the diabetic thing, it's like you don't get it or have a right to understand it until you've been there.
Yeah.
And I love the idea of showing a movie where it's like, it just shows access to it. I think when you see it, I think that's the beautiful part about film and TV. When you see something, you're like, you get a better understanding, or you see somebody like, oh, that's me. Like, you get me.
Yeah, yeah.
And
relatable,
it's so nice. Like, yes, and you rarely see I mean, when I think diabetics, I think Still Magnolias.
Yeah, yeah.
That is really the last kind of diabetic film where it's like, get the juice, Shelby, drink the juice.
Yeah, yeah.
I think that is our idea in our mind is kind of the last we've seen of a diabetic.
Yes, yes.
And that wasn't a wonderful outcome on that movie.
Yeah.
So it's nice to see something too. It's like what TV and film does. It really does bring normality, or even if it's not normal, way to understand that life.
Yeah.
And we've seen in Yellowstone, now every single one of you boys wants to be cowboys. It's like when
It's
you
addicting.
When you see that world, it's like, how can I either someone gets my world or I want to be a part of that world?
Yeah, you see yourself, or you sort of develop a richer empathy and understanding for another person's experience. Yeah.
Is it weird working, you were saying in your podcast, like weird working with your friends? Because I know Eric and I, our funniest thing, oh my God, we can have like brawls before we go record.
Oh.
And then you sit down and you're like, welcome to the glamour
I feel
and the
at
grace.
peace. This is where all of a sudden snap into like this comfortability that brings it all back together.
Is there healing there though?
Yes,
Oh
there
my
is.
God.
Yeah.
But you know what? We started our relationship working together.
Yeah.
Like we got together and we were like, let's produce a movie together. And we did that like before we were even married, anything like that. So
Yeah.
we've always kind of come back to this like, we need to be creative together.
Yeah.
Like it helps
That's
us.
amazing.
I feel like we got our groove back. It sounds so
Sure.
weird. Some people are like, when they get on like that, they haven't had sex in a long time.
Yeah.
I feel like we hadn't worked in a long time together. So it's like we
Yeah.
get your groove
That's kind of
back.
our
And you guys
sex, I
both
guess.
have these very cool sort of careers. You guys both have these very cool, interesting careers on your own, but it's a beautiful thing to find the overlap and find collaboration.
Yeah.
Oh, and like and I think what I will give it to Sheridan is like, y'all are all such a family in y'all's universe.
Mm.
It's so cool. Like Eric always made fun of like the voiceover industry because we're all obsessed with each other.
Yeah.
And everybody kind of knows each other. And it's like,
And really, I was just bitter because I didn't feel that sense of community
I know.
from somewhere.
I was going to
until-
say, yeah, because it's impossible to book a fucking voiceover job because
And
the same
that-
12 people do all of them.
Yes.
Yes.
Until they
We all
die,
know
they
each
just keep
other.
doing it.
Yeah,
So, but okay, speaking of family and that, I do have a question for you because this is something I've thought about doing and struggle with. Like, do I, don't I? You see people like Kevin Costner doing these epic Westerns right now that he's writing and directing. Horizon. I can't wait for that.
Yeah.
Do you ever think like, my good buddy, we've worked together a long time. I would love to do one of his movies. Let me give him a shout and just let him know that I'm interested and that I'm here. And like, where's the line? And do you ever cross it? And are you?
I think I like explicitly said to Kevin, we were at the SAG Awards, I think it was Yellowstone season 4, and I had just heard that he was making these movies. And I think I said to him, Kevin, if there's any little part in your movie, I would be honored.
Thank God.
It would be an honor to tape for it or whatever. And I think he laughed.
Oh. So you're
my
never going to go there
recollection.
again.
That's my recollection.
Oh,
No, I do it.
man.
I'm a little shameless with it. Like if you find your people you like working with or artists you admire, I'm really trying to have the courage to say, hey, I think you're fucking awesome. I love your work so much. I would be honored to work with you in whatever capacity. Please think of me for your next project. I started at the end of auditions. If you're like having a director session or meeting with directors, I never did this and I regret it. I just started going, hey, I think I'd be really good at this. And I think that like I would do an amazing job in your movie and I think you should hire me. I started saying that because it's just like, it's this weird dance where we're all sort of trying to be like too cool for school, or we're all like, there's a lot of subtext with those things.
Mhm.
There's a lot of like, I feel like God bless the entertainment industry. It's so based on relationships that there's a lot of like strange subtext in friendships or in professional relationships that is around like, are we gonna get to keep having jobs? Are we gonna get to keep working together?
Yeah.
Anytime I meet somebody whose work I admire, the subtext listen, I don't think it's just me. I'm sort of beaming subtextually at them. Please hire me. I want a job so bad.
Completely.
Every actor, I feel like, has that.
Yeah, of
Right? You
course.
have to. But
You meet
it's
your
like,
heroes, and I've just started trying to say it. I've just started trying to say, like,
Good.
hey, I think you're fucking awesome. I love your work so much, and I think that I would be good in your work.
okay, because I've literally been doing the same thing, and it's proven to work, and people take notice of that. And they, it's a couple times I've worked with these directors again because I'm like, hey, I see you're doing another thing. Would love to work together.
Yeah.
And it happens.
But I think you experience on the other side of that people caring about your work is a huge, is very important in the collaborators you seek. Like somebody who really loves your script, I want them on set. Like that's who I want on set. If you like my work, I want you on set because I feel like then if we have the same sort of interests, we have the same creative curiosities. I think that really, like, I think it makes sense to voice it,
So I brought a headshot and resume, and the next Jeff White production,
bro,
please,
we can't afford anybody who's ever been in a movie before.
We'll do it for free.
Then we can afford that. We can afford that.
Podcast on set.
Yeah, thank you very much. It's because I think
I'm just so excited, man. That's just so cool.
The dream is to work with your friends, right? I think we all experience this. What you guys are doing this.
Yes.
The dream is to
There's
work with
nothing
your
better.
loved ones, right?
Which is what Taylor does so
Exactly.
brilliantly.
Taylor, he's got his friends around him. And I've learned, like, Taylor has taught us so much. Both, he's actually like an incredibly generous teacher in person on set. He is just a sort of leader and a teacher, but also by example, he's taught us so much. And I think one of the examples is like, don't fucking wait. Make your thing now. Write your movie now. Go now. Get your friends around you. Get your people around you. And make it now, because Taylor was an actor.
Yeah.
And then and listen, I said to him the other night, the first fucking thing that guy directed was Wind River.
Yeah.
I think the
it's not
first
fair.
screenplay he wrote was
not fair.
Sicario. It's like, bro, what?
Like anybody can do it. Well.
Because I was telling him about my movie and I was like, yeah, I feel like you got to kind of struggle and fuck up and, give yourself. And I was like, what was the first thing you directed? Surely it must have been difficult and a struggle. And he was like, Wind River. And I was like, fuck. You're telling me.
Oscar nom next
I was
year.
Gonna say, some people just like,
That's a
come
freak
out of the
thing.
gate fully formed. And he had a life prior to that. As an actor, he obviously came into that experience with a tremendous amount of expertise already.
Did you trail him at all or any of the directors on set to kind of prep for your...
I'm always kind of watching all the time. Like, I love being on set in part because I love learning from everybody. So, like, I do production sound, too. It's like a bit of a hobby and a sort of thing I just really enjoy. So I'm kind of always trailing everybody. I'm sort of always, when I'm on set as an actor, I'm kind of always trying to talk to everybody all the time.
And I noticed you ask a lot of really interesting questions that I've taken for granted and been on set my whole life and never even thought to ask because you're so clued in on like the smallest little of details.
When I just feel like it's one of these learning things, right? It's like, oh, you can only learn this shit in this environment.
Right.
You can only learn how these guys are solving this problem in this environment. Because I'll come on set as an actor and be like, oh, this is a unique, complicated situation. How are these guys going to solve this problem? Because it is just problem solving, right? Like all creative work is like, okay, how am I going to get this fucking paint on that building? Like all creative work is like, how am I going to fucking solve this unique challenge today? And being on set and being like, oh, how are they going to, what's the cut point in this? We covered that from this side. We did that long Steadicam shot from this side. But then the next piece of coverage was also looking this way, so they can't cut between those. What are they going to cut to in between? It's like trying to piece together the lessons, the practical lessons.
Wait, that's so wild you said sound, though, because I view you as such like you're a photographer, an insane photographer.
Thank you.
So it's so wild to me that you do sound. I just feel like that's two different kind of parts of your mind. It's like hearing what you're hearing than what you're saying. You usually don't cross reference those, if that makes kind of
like our generation, like we have to fucking learn how to do everything.
Yeah.
That's why you guys have a podcast.
Do you guys have like a whole crew or are you like grilling kind of?
We're somewhere in between. We do some days that are very sparse. Our DP also is a camera operator, but we do have 2 cameras. We have a B camera sometimes.
Nice.
We have a camera crew of between 2 to 4 people, depending on the day. It's also like the grip and electric crew,
Nice.
We generally have one man band sound setup. I got really into production sound because when you're on set as an actor, you interface a lot with the sound people because they come up and lav you. They come up and stick a mic on you. The boom operator is right there. They're in the scene with you.
Totally.
So I just started making conversation with sound technicians while I was on set, and then found it to be just a fascinating. It's beautiful. It's like fishing for sound. The boom, when you think about it, it's like such an art when you watch those guys. It's so physically demanding, but it's like fly fishing.
Totally.
You've got a little Seamit Sheps 5, the blue mic. Also, once you start, I'm
here we go. We got them opened up.
I'm such a like extrovert that I have to, when I step onto a set, I need to find a way to feel like everybody's my friend. I need to find a way to feel like I belong here with all of you. We're all friends. We're all in this together.
Totally.
And learning a little bit about everybody's department became a really nice way to connect with people on set and just to feel like we're all in this together. And working on Yellowstone year after year, as an actor, usually you're very mercenary. You come in for 3 days. Everybody else has been there for 4 months.
Right.
It's hard to connect with people. Yellowstone was like, oh my God, I get to be on set with the same crew year after year. So I'm making these really good friends in the crew that are friends now because we get to spend all this time together, and then you get to learn so much from them. So like I started doing photography because on the set of Yellowstone, guys in our camera department, Matt, Leslie, Dylan Conrad, these guys like shot on film. Like it was just a very one of our DPs, Adam, would carry around a little Leica M10 monochrome on his neck, which is an absurd camera. It's like a $15,000 setup that only shoots black and white. It's a black and white digital sensor. You can make a digital picture black and white by pressing one button, but the Leica monochrome is a black and white digital sensor. There's not very many of these. Red makes a Komodo monochrome now. Wow. It's very funny. It's like you can make a digital image black and white by pressing one button. But if you love black and white, you want the whole process, you want to commit to it. It's a very interesting thing. Basically, I started learning about filmmaking shit because it was a way to connect with people on set, and then you fall in love with it, So like Andrew Sear, who was a sound tech on Yellowstone for years, this guy based in Utah, became one of my best friends on Yellowstone and just taught me all this shit for years. And sound is fun because the best, most expensive shotgun mic in the world only costs $3,500. The best, most expensive 50 millimeter prime lens in the world is worth like 80 grand, 100 grand. It's completely inaccessible. You can invest in production sound equipment and get to a pretty reasonable setup pretty quickly. Like you can get some little Electrosonics transmitters and receivers. You can get some little Sanken COS 11s. You can get some fucking Countryman B6s. You can get like some really good end game sound equipment for like thousands of dollars instead of tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Are you building your own home equipment?
I've got a pretty good like production sound setup, which we're using on this film on Caravan. Yeah, I've got like a really good like one-man band mixer bag setup, Awesome. So on a big deal, you have a cart and you have a team of 4 people. That's a whole nother level. On most small indie films, they do 1 or 2 sound techs and you wear the bag, so that's a bag mixer. And you kind of are also booming. So I've got a really nice setup for that.
A nice bag.
I've got a great bag. I got an Orca bag. It's like a $300 bag.
Okay, I do want to know. I always say, like, being on any set, especially like 1883 in Yellowstone, it's like summer camp. Yeah. I feel like y'all are all, especially because I think y'all were the pandemic. It's like everything was such a pod. And I feel like in Montana, you're such a pod. Is it weird going to other shows after that and like getting away from the horses and the land and the air and kind of going on to other shows? Is it like kind of a reality shock? Because I think for you, that was the biggest thing. When you got off 1883, you were like, oh my God, this is not normal. Like this is such summer camp.
Yeah, but I knew going into it wasn't normal from the first day because I had never experienced that before. And I'd already been doing the industry almost, 17 years at that point.
Totally.
So it's just, I had never, other than doing theater, I'd never experienced that kind of family environment, completely immersed with ourselves on a set.
Yeah.
Have you?
No, it feels like the duration is the other element of it. Because, like, we're actors. Like, our job is to make friends. Like, we show up. If you're working with somebody for one day,
you're like me,
you're going to be best friends by the end of the day. It's our job. It's like our craft is a very flimsy, very subjective art form. It's really hard to say what makes a good or a bad actor. So part of our job is to be fun to be around. Like
it's true.
It's a big part of our job is just to be generally likable and agreeable and to show up on set and be pleasant. But a job like Yellowstone is amazing because you get to, it's year after year. like those, it takes time to develop real relationships. It takes time to develop real friendships because they're based on trust. They're based on like longevity. You know, it's like, oh, you're the same person today that you were yesterday. You're the same person this year that you were last year. Like that's a really beautiful opportunity that's rare in this business, right? Because usually a really good job lasts 3 months.
Yeah, and you're still putting on a little bit of a show.
You have to.
Like,
it's part of your job.
When you're exactly. So I feel like when you're on a show for that long, you see all facets.
Yeah,
of
we're all
people.
living together. Like we, you know, like my friend Denham Richards and I were living together for the first couple seasons of Yellowstone because it was like cheaper for them to put us in the same like little rental house than to get us 2 hotel rooms. So we were like, great, let's be roomies. Yeah. So like you make these really good friends over time, and then going from that back into other jobs, it is nice to do interiors.
Yeah.
Going back into interiors after Yellowstone was like, oh, wow, I've never been so comfortable. We're doing dialogue indoors. And this
What
is
a concept.
Not sweating through my costume right now.
yeah, it's so refreshing to go and do like something on the stages after doing Yellowstone. It's like, this
100%.
is easy. This is a cakewalk.
That's great.
But you miss you miss those relationships. You miss the sort of trust, you know?
Did you ever have the like Luke Grimes thing of like, oh, I'm going to move here or Texas or somewhere that you film that you're like, man, I should just do it.
Every time I go out there, especially every time I go out there with my wife, because it's like the hard thing about working.
She's your home.
Yeah, exactly. The hard thing about working is being away from your family, right? Like the paradox of being an actor is like when you're home, that usually means you're unemployed. And when you're working, that means you're away from your family usually. That's really hard.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so when I go anywhere with my wife, we both look at each other and we're like, we could live here. Like this is, you know, it's beautiful. It's great. As long as she's there. You know, it's like as long as she's there, I feel like I could live pretty much anywhere. And my friends, you know, my friends too. I always feel like if, you know, Montana's beautiful, like Texas is beautiful. They're amazing. I could live in any of these places. I live in New York because my friends live here. My wife lives here.
Your home is here.
Yeah, but my home is my friends and my wife, you know? Yeah,
That's when we went to Iceland. And I remember we did a little rental and we're driving around Iceland and we were like, let's be famous in Iceland. Let's be Iceland celebrities, Icelandic celebrities, and just live here and be the most famous people
Which they've
in
got a good
Iceland.
I was going to say,
film
you guys,
studio there.
and you guys kind of look like Icelandic. You're sort of blonde. You're like beautiful blonde sort
Please
Oh my
sponsor us,
God.
Iceland.
Oh, yeah.
We'll come.
But Iceland, that's a high standard. Like Iceland 10s are like,
Oh, no.
that's pretty serious. That's like some
beautiful people.
otherworldly. I just feel like everybody looks like Anya Taylor-Joy over there.
It's so, and we like did Iceland before anybody did Iceland because I found it on Groupon. It was like actually scary and expensive. Like my parents thought we were going to be sold as sex slaves because I think I got it for like $400 a person.
Greatest trip of our entire life.
Oh,
Direct flight,
Entire life.
Groupon. We did this whole series of like called
Years
Groupon
ago.
getaways. This is years and years.
Oh.
And I remember we were going there and I was so nervous. I was like, nobody had heard of I mean, you've heard of Iceland, but nobody went to visit. And they were like, oh, was it Beyonce or the Kardashians? They were
Right
like,
after us, it was Beyonce.
yes, and we were like, oh, there it goes. Goodbye, Iceland. We were like,
so
no.
funny. I think of all those, like, listen, we're not talking about like I don't mean to be like reverse racist against Icelandic people. If I'm going to Iceland, I'm not scared.
No,
You know what I mean? That's
That's
like-
the best
that's a-
part. Their big newspaper that you know, if there's crime in the town that goes on.
Yeah.
I think the big one of the month was like somebody stole something from the grocery store.
Yesterday, a
It's one
duck
jail.
fell into a pond. There was a brief crisis, but we got the duck out of the pond.
He was cold for a second.
Yeah, he was cold for a moment, but we got him some hot cocoa.
He's much
I'm
better
sorry,
now.
Iceland. I bet there's really edgy, cool. I feel like they're super hot. I feel like it's all
hot.
Skarsgårds. I feel like it's a whole
is.
nation
Yes.
of Skarsgårds.
Sweden.
And they're huge.
Yeah, they're fucking gigantic.
Yeah.
And
they're
they're
doing all
perfect.
of my acting jobs. I'm saying this because I resent Icelandic people for taking all of my jobs.
They're big, but their horses are small. You know, they're famous for their horses.
Oh, those
Yeah,
little
mini
tiny horses.
horses.
Yeah.
Oh, it
That's
was
like
the coolest.
That's really nice.
This
We-
is a
we
great
love
episode.
Iceland.
I love
I'm sorry,
Iceland.
Iceland.
Thank you, Iceland.
I feel like I said some fucked up shit about Iceland. I'm jealous. You can tell that I'm simply jealous of how tall and attractive.
One of the best
and
nightclub
successful
lives,
you are.
nightlifes in the world.
in the world. Yeah,
It
we
turns
partied hard.
on at night, bro. It's insane.
You guys are really complicating my image of Iceland, I have to admit.
know, it's
I
actually-
said
But you're
that
also
duck thing a
eating
minute
shark
ago.
in the
That was
daytime.
fucked up. I don't know what was up about
No,
that.
but no, it's so
I'm coming
weird.
from a place of ignorance.
The Skarsgård brothers. I always feel that way about
Skarsgård.
Skarsgård. I can't. I have such
Skarsgård.
a speech impediment.
No,
I
it's
feel
hard.
that
There's
way.
lots of A's in
The
there.
Skarsgård.
There's a ton of A's in there.
I swear to God, that's how I felt about MGK. Machine Gun
Yes,
Kelly with
Machine Gun
Eric.
Kelly.
Did you see he tattattooed his whole body black? Have you seen it? He is.
Top half.
Yeah. He did the reverse half of Michael Jackson. Now he went black.
Oh,
No, and I
MGK.
swear. And the first thing in my mind is I was like, oh, Eric's going to get some jobs now. That's the first, I saw the picture and I'm
They
like,
don't care. They'll cover it. I mean,
oh,
those
that's a lot.
makeup
I mean, it's
artists-
got to be a big budget to cover full black
Because
skin.
was
But he's
MGK
not
doing your
small
jobs?
budget stuff. We were up versus each other on multiple projects.
Really? I didn't know
Believe
he
it.
was an actor.
Oh yeah, man, he is. So he was on that. Was it HBO or Showtime? The show Roadies. We were up versus
I like
each
the
other.
idea
in
of
the
you
end.
taking his rap jobs. He's taking your acting jobs,
he
but you're
has.
booking his rap
And
jobs.
the best one ever. The best one ever is like,
How?
hey, you're pinned for this project. The other person who's up for it is also touring and may or may not want to do it. So if he doesn't want to do it, you get to do it.
That's
This
the
was
only
for
way we get
Nerve, like an
any
Emma
job.
Roberts movie.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, okay.
That's the only way we get any job, man, is if there's like 4. The way it all works, and God bless it, we're lucky. We're lucky that we're like 7th in line instead of 28th in line.
True.
You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
a miracle to be behind a list of 7 guys that if they don't feel like doing it or they're doing an ayahuasca retreat or something, maybe
Taylor-
we'll get to have a job.
Wait,
It's
yes.
so true.
Please tell
Taylor
the
told
story.
me the first time we ever met, he wanted me to come over for dinner so I could meet Isabel and James. And he's like, you were the 11th tape network wanted me to watch. He's like, that is how many people they made me sift through before I got to your tape. And had you not
Yeah.
started it riding on a horse, I probably wouldn't even have watched it.
Wow.
And I was like, note to self. Like,
Yeah.
So that's a good argument for doing ambitious tapes too.
yeah,
because
that's
it's
what I
just like-
mean.
Oh my God, why not?
we have to be realistic that there's, I hate to say this, there's a lot of guys just like us
Yeah.
who are just as good at acting as we are.
But whose dads are super famous.
yeah,
And
yeah.
they've been in the limelight for a
or
long
they're
time.
also rappers in an amazing way. Like,
yeah.
like,
yes.
yeah, or they're Icelandic.
We love you.
And
Iceland.
gorgeous.
No, but I will say really quick though, my favorite part is when he got the audition, I was obsessed with Yellowstone. Eric hadn't watched Yellowstone yet, and I was addicted. And I was like, Eric,
No, I had, remember? Oh,
no, it was me.
oh, you were the pandemic
Yeah,
watcher. I was
a pandemic watcher.
Yeah.
And I was like, Eric, if you don't book this, I will be devastated. This is it. And so I remember I was reading the sites with him and I was like, Eric, we're going to go to a ranch and you're going to start your audition on a horse. And Taylor will
That was
know.
her idea.
No,
That
it
was her idea. I gave her every dollar of that check just because
I
I,
was going to
wouldn't
say,
have had the
that's
experience.
amazing.
Yeah.
Good trust, though. You did a very good trust in that moment.
Oh,
It's
but my
true.
favorite is we went to this luxury hunting resort and we go out to like the woods or the field, the ranch. And he gets on the horse and he's like, hey, y'all, I'm Eric Nelson. This is my horse Money. And it's like the rental horse that we did for the
I
day.
didn't speak with that thick of a draw, but
Yes,
yes.
you did. And I remember the first thing that Taylor said too, he was like, oh, you can't ride worth shit. And that's definitely not your horse. And we were like, no, but we killed. And it was so amazing. Like it was drizzling like a
But I
slight
got him to
drizzle.
stop and watch.
Yes,
And
that's
that
all
is
that
what,
matters.
that's what I
Yeah.
needed.
So it's like, why not? Like,
Yeah.
even though he knew he actually wasn't like a huge rider.
I grew up with horses and have been around in the world my whole life, but I
Me
didn't
and
ride.
horses both exist
Yes.
Yes.
in
I love
America.
a
You
good
know,
horse.
like
We
there's horses-
owned horses though. Like
cool.
my mom and dad. My dad was a professional polo player. He trained reining horses.
Oh,
my
amazing.
grandfather, my mom. So I grew up in that world and they had bought us all horses when we were young, but none of us kids wanted to do it.
But you also moved to New York at 12.
yeah, I hadn't touched a horse since I was
Yeah.
like a little.
Yeah.
But I feel
Um,
like it's great. I do say that because you're amazing at riding a horse. Like I'm born and raised in Texas, been on a horse twice in my life.
You don't like it?
Oh no.
Scary?
Well, and
Scary.
I'm not a
For her, yeah.
like I giggle. I just won an award
mom
with the
kinda-
Cowgirl. Yeah.
That is too scary.
Yeah. I was like, I'm in the
Because her
Cowgirl
mom's
Hall of
dad
Fame.
got into an accident.
side,
So
yeah.
it's like this.
I mean,
Sorry,
it-
sidebar.
Okay, sidebar.
It is a little scary.
They're terrifying. And I'm 5'0". So those monster things that like, and I'm a control freak. I'm a Taurus. So it's like to have zero control and give control to something else is
Yeah.
like next level. And I was like never on a ranch. So I giggled that like Eric's married to a Texan, but I couldn't be, he is more Texan than I am.
Yeah. Are you more New York than him? I think right now you are. Look at this
Yes.
leather jacket.
Today?
I was going to
Heck
say.
yes.
I feel like I'm more New York. I'm very, a little spice, a little Spitfire.
Yeah, yeah.
But then if somebody's Spitfire back at me, oh no. That would do me in. I'd
you
take
mean
to
you
the
would
bed.
leave?
Oh,
Okay,
I'd be
good.
done.
Yeah,
I'd be
yeah. Tail between the legs. That's me.
done.
Yeah. I'm not doing
I
conflict.
could talk all day
Yeah.
long and spit and fire, and then you spit fire back, and I'd be like, I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
And so,
Oh,
you know.
It just feels like it's never worth it.
Never worth it.
It's like,
Oh my God.
What can you gain here?
Oh my God. My dad always said, he's like, take 24 hours. And that's my new philosophy. It's like you take 24 hours before you respond to something.
Yeah.
Because in the moment.
Like a weird email or text that doesn't,
or a confrontation, you just say, take 24 hours.
You're going to have a trigger response. You have this, I get very defensive, little ego response, little trigger response. I go,
And to his credit, most of the time,
Always
our answers changed within 24 hours.
Yeah.
So it is a good rule. We should probably start wrapping this up.
To end our wrap, we always like to ask our guest, what is your glamour and what is your grit? It can be your glamour of your day, glamour of life. And what is your grit in life? What are you gritting?
These are such nice questions. Can I ask you your answers?
Yeah.
Nobody's
What
done
is your
that.
glamour and what are your grit?
My glamour.
Can I be really honest?
Yeah.
I thought it was the glamour and the grit.
Kind of is.
Kind of is.
Okay, great. But please tell me your glamour
She is
and
the
your grit.
glam of the glam and grit.
Yeah. But I think it's life. The whole reason we came up with the name is because while he was filming 1883, our son was deathly ill.
Yeah.
And so if people knew he was actually on the carpet of Yellowstone and I was in the ICU with our son.
When I was interviewing you for your premiere, she was in the ICU having like this, with our son having like this terrible moment. And I was this close to having to run off that thing.
Bro.
She's like, I will let you know if you need
like
to
the
fly
nurse
right
was
now.
on call. I was like, call him if it gets bad because he had RSV and pneumonia. It was a wreck. And so I was like, that is what people don't get to see about our business is like the real reality of what it's like.
Yeah.
And the sacrifices, like what your wife has done. It's like you're either together, you're not together. And so much of it, I was like, we need to show that side of it because that's the real shit. That is what's actually going on. So I always do a testament to Eric that we wouldn't have survived without 1883 because I think if we were both in it, I don't know if we would have survived. But the fact that he got to go away and come back, I think it was able to keep us steady and secure to have someone like away from us. So that's kind of where, but the glamour is being able to fly here and be with people like you that I love dearly. And the grit is, oh shit, just hoping it turns out great. I feel like that's my grit right now.
Uncertainty, yeah.
Yes. It's taken a lot for me to have uncertainty.
Yeah, uncertainty is weird. We want to be in control.
Ugh.
We do a lot to try to maintain control, but there's so much shit that's just completely out of our fucking control.
Amen.
Like there's no amount of preparation, no amount of anything, of grit, of strength, of intelligence can control everything. There's so much stuff out of our control. Yeah.
What's your glamour and grit?
What's your glamour and grit?
I like how you're flipping this on us today.
I know, it gives me more time to think.
I know.
I mean, today, my grit, and this has just been driving me crazy for the last few days, is like this terrible sinus infection that I was like, for those of you not watching on tape and all you're going to hear is me talking like this, that's annoying me
No,
and I
you
can't
sound
breathe.
great. That's frustrating.
Yeah,
though.
So that
Oh
is
my God,
grit
wait.
Texas
today.
spring, though, is that you got the allergies down there? That
It's
shit
brutal.
fucks you up.
That's no joke.
No,
Yeah.
I'm still not acclimated and we've been there 4 years.
It's rough.
Yeah. I will say, I'm so sorry about this and I'm going to make fun of you. Have you ever seen Hey Arnold?
Yes.
That's my
Do you
breath.
know the guy behind him in the classroom that he's like,
And then she punches him.
No.
That was me during the Broadway play the
Yes.
other night.
I
And
literally-
she goes, wait, that was you? I thought it was the lady behind me. I was like, no, I could not breathe. And she's...
no, I was mortified for him. I'm like,
Jeremy Strong's like, stop the play.
Stop. I mean,
somebody's
literally,
There was a
breathing.
man
front row.
breathing too loudly in the audience.
I was shooketh that was him. I was like, there's no way. Like, that's
Oh.
just too weird. And I was like, oh my God, you are the
Okay, well,
Arnold.
that is my grit.
Yeah.
Sorry,
I'm the
that
guy
is
from
grit.
Hey
Yeah,
Arnold.
that's grit.
And my glamour truly was knowing that I got to be here to see you this trip.
Oh,
I hadn't seen you in a while.
What
I've
a
been
pleasure,
following
man.
your, we get to follow each other online and stuff, and we text and all that. But, just giving you a hug and getting to talk to you for a bit and having
Oh.
a fun excuse to do it. That's been the glamour for me this weekend.
thanks, man. What a joy. Yeah, what a pleasure this is. So the glamour's like a good thing and the grit's like a bad thing.
Yeah,
I guess it formed into
that.
Because I was gonna say my glamour, like my little luxury, my little thing that is like my expense, my sort of bougie expense, is I spend so much money on coffee. I'm like addicted to. I need the caffeine, and I buy like 3 cold brews a day. And in New York City, that's like fucking $22 a day.
oh yeah,
It's
minimum.
insane.
But if you get a cold brew, it's free refills
Where?
What?
at Starbucks. If you bring your cold brew cup back, they fill it up.
I don't think they're doing that in New York.
Oh, is that just
sounds
Texas?
like some Texas. That
Okay.
sounds like some everything's bigger in Texas style
that is the thing.
generosity.
Try it.
I should try it. I should show up. Yeah. Because it is on tap.
Hey, my buddy from Texas.
Hey,
said,
please.
The Texans know.
Please. I feel like maybe if I look pathetic enough, if I sort of.
Or maybe I just ask and they just say okay.
That's really
I
sweet.
don't know.
Yeah, that's
I know.
nice.
They
Maybe I've
probably
never
do.
tried it, to be honest. This is, hey, you got to ask for what you want.
This is true.
You know,
We
you got
love
to
our
ask for what you want.
baristas.
So I spend a lot more money on coffee than a person ought, and I need it. And then the grit, something rough. I mean, yeah, the uncertainty, you know? I feel like that's really in our career, in the world, in life. As I get older, I feel like it seems as though, I don't know, when I was younger, I thought I would feel more in control of my life the older I got. But I think you just kind of learn that you can't control everything, you know?
Yeah.
And it relates to everything. It relates to our careers, our lives in general. There's just the uncertainty. And I'm trying to learn that's not necessarily a bad thing. You know, like beautiful things happen because you can't control everything. You know, beautiful surprises and beautiful gifts and opportunities that you never imagined happened. But it's hard. It's hard to surf the uncertainty sometimes.
Amen.
Those are good.
Yeah.
Those are good.
And then the glamour, is coffee.
Yeah, it's coffee. It's
Yes,
coffee.
we
It's
love
coffee.
coffee. Thank you so
I've got
much.
a cat that I love. He's a good thing.
Oh,
Mac and
nice.
cheese. His name's Mac and Cheese.
Mac
We
and
might get a
cheese.
second cat. At the time of this recording, my wife and I, she's really advocating strongly for a cat on Pet Finder to get a second cat.
You know, you should give him a friend. Give her a friend.
I know. That's what we were thinking.
Yeah, you
it's
do
nice
need a
for him to
friend.
have
It's so much
companionship.
easier.
Yeah.
They changed the game. We had
Companionship.
one dog. Then we got two, and it was like they have each other.
Dogs are so social. Cats are like interesting. Sometimes they're
Yeah.
antisocial.
I guess
we'll
that
see.
is true. Never owned one, but
You're missing out. They're really sweet. I would never thought of myself as a cat guy. I had cats, but I never thought of myself as a cat guy. Now Mac and Cheese is his name. Here's a picture.
love it. Let's see.
That's my cat.
Is he orange?
You're gonna have to crop in aggressively. That's 4K. That's a little Blackmagic Pocket Pro
Aw.
Cinema 4K.
Amen.
Could even be 6K.
They've got good.
Is she
Could
orange?
even be 6K. He's orange, yeah.
Oh,
He's a
good.
little
Good.
orange
I was
Oh, I
going to say
love
mac
The
and
orange
cheese.
cats are the best.
Perfect.
Sweet little guy. Bro.
Speaking of
Sainty.
kitties.
Okay, we love you, man.
We
Thank you
love
so
you.
much.
What a joy.
Can't
Tune in
wait.
on Friday. Bye, guys. Glamour.
Grit. Glamour.
Grit.
Glamour.
Grit. Glamour.
Grit.